Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we are looking at the CCA CS16. And I know it's hard to keep up with all these things at KZ and TRN, and just every company is just throwing out there. But, KZ and CCA kind of invented that game of making you go out and you buy yourself the latest C22, and like a month later, there's the C22 that's retuned, or there's a C22 Pro or something like that. They invented that game. Here they are with a CS16. This is 8 balanced armatures per side, so that's 8 drivers each side. And they're all crammed into this unit. It's not the smallest unit. It's not the largest one I've ever put in my ears. I think that distinction goes to the Triple Win TP10 and its cousins from CCA and KZ. But anyway, so this retails for about $99. I've seen it for about $89 at some places. I'll try to find the best link for you for these. Now, as stated, we'll look at the ohms and everything else on it. I'm going to put this down for a second. Let's take a look at the cable. The cable is that typical CCA cable. I have an extension that I was using, so I didn't actually unbundle the cable. But I have used these for quite some time now. And even when I do unbundle, I bundle it back up because it just looks neater on the video. These ear hooks are kind of aggressive. I don't know. So I don't know if that's you like that or if you don't, but you can always bend these with some heat and back into a wider shape or something. The unit themselves, they look great. They're shiny. They're kind of pretty. They got the clear in the back. Got a decent nozzle. Let's pop that off. As you can see, one of the issues is that this tip, it might as well not even be here because like this is like right in your ear. Even when you a little push in that metals, I don't like that. I don't like these tips at all. These tips are trash, to be quite honest. I would have preferred the Starlines, star tips that they had before. The nozzle is nice. It's got a nice lip to it. It's got a decent amount of length to it, but that also goes into your ear very much because of the shape. And then you got that tip just scraping there and everything. But overall, it's a gorgeous looking unit. So I have no qualms about the way it looks. It's got some ergonomics. It is bigger. So, shocker, this will not fit smaller ears. Very comfortable. I don't know. I don't have smaller ears, so I can't test that theory. But personally, I think that it won't fit the smaller ears because of the shape and the size. So comfort will be very subjective. As usual, it all depends on your ear shape and size. Everybody's ear is different. Even your left and right ear are completely different. So you're going to have to try to play around with tips to find a good fit, a good seal. Of course, this was tested with the stock tips. I'm not going to change out the tips until later when I'm using these. And if I have any insight after, maybe a week or 2 more weeks of using it after the review, then I'll do another video and I'll tell you what I found out and if there's ways to, make it sound better, or if it fell apart or anything like that, I'll get right back to you and let you know. So overall, I'm happy with the way it looks. The performance, now I'm looking at the online and that is just way off. This is only 18 ohms. It says 27 ohms online. I don't know why somebody put that. There's no way. If this was 27 ohms, it would actually be a little bit better because then I could use like the beam on it or something. So we have 18 ohms and 20 to 40 kilohertz. You can't hear at 40 kilohertz, so that really doesn't matter. 0.75 millimeter, 3.5 millimeter termination L shape, and 105, which is kind of a standard sensitivity. So these are easy to drive, but just because something's easy to drive doesn't mean you shouldn't have a DAC amp or a DAP or something to play with these, because that's always going to enhance it. And these, of course, will take advantage of any enhancement. So I'm going to leave them there. So overall, the shape, I like the look, the shape. I found them comfortable enough. The seal was decent enough. Sleeping with these, laying down, I wouldn't recommend it. Tried it, wouldn't recommend it at all. Um, the seal on it, a little tricky. I didn't put any new tips on it. I am going to do that now after this video, and I'll enjoy them for, when I'm not testing the other stuff. We've got a bunch of stuff coming that I have to test. I have a bunch of stuff here right now that I have to test. Never mind the stuff that's coming. So overall, I found that it was decent. It wasn't what I was expecting. It definitely is a big departure if you're used to the typical CCA KZ kind of V shape that they have. Looking at this, the nozzles, like I said, that's going to be a little bit of a problem for some people because of those tips. I think a set of foams will solve it for most people. And if you don't want to get in the foams, there are some nice spin fits and other brands. The new Moondrop ones I like. Or if you have maybe some KZ tips lying around, the good old ones, inverted. I haven't tried it inverted. I think I'm going to test it with all those different tips, and then I'll get back to you if it made any major improvements to this. So there's no vents because there is kind of a vent right on the front, but there's no major venting needed for it because it's a BA unit. I honestly wish that they had put a dynamic driver in this. Now, the cable is the silver-plated cable, decent enough for a stock. Kind of would have liked to seen something just a little bit different, a little bit better. Like in the $30, $40, $50 range, that cable would have been fine. But this thing is $99, and I would have liked to see more of a flagship type cable with it. But the cable's not that bad, so I'm not going to complain that much. Now, we did use the AP80 Pro X. That's a long name for my DAP, but we used that. We used the surf fans. We used the Timku. That was basically it. And the rest we did streaming on the phone using a couple of different dongle DACs, the DD Hi-Fi. I did try the Beam on very low volume, but I am very skeptical with the Beam because it's very powerful and it can tend to blow things out. So I'm looking at the chart now, and the charts, it doesn't look so bad. Talking about bass, now this is a multi-balanced armature, and to be quite honest, bass isn't the first thing I think of. When I actually hear a little bit of bass, I'm actually impressed. Now, balanced armatures, they do give off bass, especially with this having a dedicated bass balanced armature. It's going to give off bass. It's going to have, some detail. It's not going to have as much impact as a dynamic driver. And of course, sub bass ain't going to hang around for very much longer. That's probably why it doesn't color the mids at all in this. So bass is there. It's very, it has a very rapid decay. It has a kind of, a weak impact. It's not anemic. It's there. It's definitely present, but it does have kind of a weak impact. Getting into the mid-range, this thing is really good with the mid-range. Kind of reminds me of the Heart Mirror, but of course the Heart Mirror being a single dynamic driver, very nice. I mean, this can't match that in terms of technicalities, but it did have some very good mids. Mid-range, had some bit of cooling to it. It was kind of cold. They didn't have any warmth. They didn't have forwardness to them at all. But the tone and just the overall naturalness of the mid-range was decent. Vocals are very good. They definitely are not in your face. There's definitely some really good details there. They have some, some weight to them and the size and everything else. I'm not going to get into all that technical baloney. I'm just going to tell you that the mids were good. Okay, they were good. They had some good data retrieval there. And then we get into the treble. And the treble, particularly the lower treble, is where it is. It kind of has some decent treble and it's not splashy. There's some good details there. But of course, that's basically what this is. This is basically a mid-range treble IEM. So that would make it very good for like um, acoustical music, classical music, some jazz, not so much. I actually like bass with my jazz. I like to hear the bass reverberate. Uh, Country music, perhaps. Thinking of something else. Just anything with vocals, just like pure vocal music, a cappella, and stuff like that. Definitely. Now, soundstage on this is very large. It has a good width to it. It's not so much as deep, but it is large there. And I'm going to actually go to my notes, and that's basically what I wrote about it. So I'll just go try to talk out of my notes now. So, in a nutshell, it's got a good wide soundstage. It's not so much as deep as it is wide, but it is wide. Build quality is nice. Build quality will fit most ears good. If your ears are really small, I don't think they will. I don't like the tips. The cable is okay, but it was kind of a disappointment because it's just the standard cable that they've been using lately, even on $40 and $30 IEMs. So I would have expected something better for $100. Um, it's good. It's good for classical music to hear all the instruments. There's good separation. Nothing seems like unnatural here from the bass to the mids and everything, even though the bass isn't that present. Uh, it's present, but it doesn't have that much impact. It's decent. There's a decent detail there, and even bass boosted tracks and using the X bass on the Griffin and stuff like that. It sounded okay. But this is more of a mid-centric, treble-centric IEM. So definitely, I would, if you like music like that, if you're not listening to pop music, this is a no for pop music. So the caveats here are, I like this. I like this a lot. I love the way it looks. I love the ergonomic shape. I like the see-through, seeing all those BAs inside of there. The cable is okay to me. For the most part, everything is decent here. But now things like obviously the topping back here, that's overkill for this. But I would recommend an amp DAC or using a DAP on it or whatever. Now the Griffin probably is overkill, but something around the lines of that, the hip DAC. The FiO Q3 would be very good with this. Trying to think of other things. TK2 I used, very good. My DAPs I used. The Beam I would not recommend anything like that. The Beam, either the Pro or the S, they're just too powerful for this. But overall, it does scale. So the caveat is the tips. Throw those tips in the box. Put the box wherever you put the box. I don't care if it's in the garbage. That's what I think where the tips should actually be. I don't like them at all. There's no space between the nozzle filter, the end of the nozzle, and your ears. I don't like that at all. I'm hoping when I switch the spin fits or maybe even inverted Starline tips that it'll be better. I'm actually waiting for the Moondrop tips to come in. I'd like to try those out on that, but I don't think they'll be in for a little while. Things are just so slow in the mail. That said, I honestly can say that people will like this. And well, it ain't particularly my cup of tea. If I'm going to listen to something that's more centric toward vocal and treble and stuff like that, I think I would just get the heart mirror. Honestly, to be honest, 100%. Right now, my favorite IEM is the T3 Plus. So I'm trying to compare everything to the T3 Plus. Maybe the Aria, but I don't own them, so I didn't review them. I actually borrowed them, and they're very close. There's a close thing between that and the T3 Plus, but this signature, I know people are going to like. I'm not going to condemn it because it's not my particular signature. I just think that it probably needs a bit of modification to get a little bit more balance out of it than the way it's set up right now. But treble is not exactly harsh. Definitely, I wouldn't say that it's harsh. I wouldn't say that it's spiky and peaky. Overall, there's definitely a good thing there with cymbal crash. It definitely has decent power up in the treble, but for the most part, it's not like very, very aggressive. The mids is where this actually shines completely. They sound good, even though they're cold and they could use a little bit more weight to them. Vocals sound very good in there, and they're very detailed, and then nothing sounds unnatural. It's not pushed forward to where it's in your face. It's like in front of the instruments, but it's not way forward, in space. And there's decent amount of details here. There's some micro details, and overall, I just think I can't condemn this. I know that it's $99, and I know that there is a very competitive price field right now. And this thing is a fingerprint magnet too, by the way. I would suggest maybe getting the black ones. Maybe they're less fingerprint magnet than this. But I did like the silver color. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very competitive price range, between the $70 and $99 range now. So I don't know if you like these or not. If this sounds like your cup of tea, if you're not listening to K-pop or pop or heavy metal or rock music, I think that this would just be perfect for you. So with that, I'm going to leave it at that. Caveats are you probably not going to like these tips. As you can see, the filter is in the end of the nozzle is right there. The shape is a little on the hefty side. It's far from the biggest. I think the SA3s are actually bigger than this, or at least equal. And those, that's only a 3 balanced armature per side. Look-wise, look good. Build-wise, build that typical kind of solidish build from KZ and CCA. No complaints there. Just change out your tips. Maybe fix the cable with some heat because tends to be a little on the aggressive side. And overall, that's about it. That's all I can think of. Small ears, definitely not. If you have very small ears, just avoid that. I don't think it'll be comfortable in your ear at all. And that's basically it. That's the CS16. And I try to find the bright side of things. I'm not going to condemn something and say it's garbage just because it particularly isn't my thing. I have to be, subjective here. I can't take sides with something like this. If it was just horrible, all over the place, tuning and awful, then yes, I'm obviously going to condemn it. But this has a lot of redeeming points for people that are looking for something like this. So if it is what something you like and you listen to that kind of music all the time, I personally listen to a large variety of music. So obviously this wouldn't be my everyday one. But I can see this being good for certain things. And I'm going to mod it out and see what I can do. I'm going to put a copper cable on it. And we're going to put better tips on it. And we'll see what's going to happen. And if I'm going to like it even more. But for now, I'll leave it at that. CCA CS10, 8 balanced armatures per side, 16 in total. Very easy to drive, but it does like the scale with a amplifier and DAC. And that topping is way overkill for it. Definitely. So something smaller. Dongles. Some of the lower powered dongles. Perfect for this. A DAP. Perfect for this. And if you run it off your phone, you can run it off your phone. There's no problem there. I'm just saying it does a little bit better job scaling with the with something like this. So we're going on the 20-minute mark. And I don't want to keep rambling on for you. I just wanted to give you my opinions on this from testing it. And that's basically it. It's kind of centered toward the mids, a little bit centered toward the highs. Bass, not centered at all, but it's not anemic. The bass still has presence. It just very quick. Doesn't have much impact. Mids sound very good, even though they might be just a little bit on the cold side. They still sound good. They sound natural. They definitely they're not pushed forward and shouting in your ear. And highs have a decent amount of extension, but they're kind of smoothed over a little bit. There is some sparkle there. And an imaging soundstage, very good. It doesn't have the widest soundstage in the world like some of the other ones that I've tried, but it does have a decent width, and it does have very good details. So, with that said, thank you so much for watching. Please be safe, and I'll see you again on the next video. Tons of stuff that I'm reviewing right now. Thank you so much for watching.